Blessings Booktube. One of the read-alongs that I just found out about and joined with great glee is for Oblomov by Goncharov. Group of us are reading that, and I'm joining in. They're just getting into part 2, so I want to catch up and do a little video here about part 1. Now, this is the first script that I have written for BookTube. The other reviews and whatnot, pastiches especially, that I have heretofore presented on the channel had all been written to be read. Hence, some of them don't sound, it's difficult to see the speakers and the quotation marks and whatnot. When I read them to you. But this, I scripted it, so let me know if you like that, and I could do more of them. My desire has been for this channel, since I was a literary critic, to be very discursive and, conversational and very informal. And so I've not wanted to get into all kinds of, deep analysis and things of that nature, although I have at times. Old habits die hard. But it was kind of fun to write a script, although at the end I'm going to extemporate a little bit on a theme. But let me first read you what I wrote about the first part of Oblomov. Differentiate Oblomov from your stereotype of the brooding Slav sunk in consternation. From go, he is described for us as evaporating doubt and despondency with a sigh. Even his Persian gown radiates insouciance. The bed is the center of his abiding. The chamber is not cork-lined like Proust's, but dust lies thick on upon his tomes. The hour hand of his clock is not needed. His servant, Zakar, is used to coming and going at the beck without reason, sometimes both at once, and takes the blame even for O's imprint in the sofa. Zakar announces the impending eviction from their rooms. Oh my. Bach and Beethoven, Da Vinci, all bore Oblomov. Even Volkov's carriage seating arrangements for wooing Lydia, Misha's opera bouquet for Dashenka. Neither Subdinki's civil service documents in duplicate, nor upcoming marriage to 10,000 rubles and a house with 12 rooms rouse Oblomov. Not even the realistic tendency in literature reported in the newspaper. Goncharov next presents us with a caricature of a writer. Penkin obliterates flowers with blackmail and corrupt politicos. Crooks praise the officials who beat them. No longer are love songs required. With a vengeance, he casts out of the ecosystem of civil society characters such as petulant hypocrites. Oblomov receives an astonishing crowd of friends for someone who rarely quits his room. He shares with his next visitor news of the desiccated crops of his estate. He invents rain clouds to beg off lunch. Alexiev points out that the clouds are mere smudges on the window. They're interrupted by the farcical Tarantiev. In lines worthy of Ionesco's bald soprano, T libels A for rough treatment by VN, who is kin to A and dared to recall a loan to T, while A insists repeatedly that this VN is no kin of his, to no avail. Tarantiev seems to have appointed himself prosecutor general. When informed of the news of Oblomov's estate's state, he accuses its manager of having invented the drought. The man is a contrast to Oblomov in energy, and soon arranges in his own head a stay. Sorry about that, a little computer glitch there. And soon arranges that this is the problem of reading scripted. Yeah, so he told of his estate's state, he accuses his manager of having invented the drought. The man is a contrast to Oblomov in energy, and soon arranges in his own head a stay in the country for Oblomov to supervise the estate, followed by a change of residence to a place near Tarantiev himself. These plans seem to sap Oblomov utterly, and he falls back into afternoon slumber, from which his sleep is briefly awakened by a doctor's visit warning him off meat, activity, thought, climate, and farinaceous food. But he soon resumes dreaming. He dreams of his estate, of which Goncharov writes, the souls of the denizens of Oblomovka lay plunged in an undisturbed inertia, which possessed their ease-loving organisms to the core. Where labor was used as punishment, naturally they avoided it, and care as well, so they lived a life of convivial feasts to green old age. Christening feast followed funeral, each incident portended in turn by paying in the appropriate appendage. Wood laid by would rot before it was used to build or repair. One rarely taxed oneself to spending. Books in their creaky covers stood like paintings turned to the wall. Mail unanswered was an unheard of event. Careers, naturally, were as dispensable as epaulettes. Child Oblomov, little Ilya Ilyich, ooh, say that 3 times fast. Little Ilya Ilyich, whenever threatened to go out and play, was menaced by probable wood goblins, bears, Tartars, and a whole demonology. Nurse was on strict orders to guard him against hazards like inclines and sunshine. She told tales between naps of the ant and the plow and of Walter Scott and of the great white universe. Ilyich's hero was Fool Emil, asleep by the stove and rewarded by the pikefish witch. He preferred the window to the icon and cream rolls to stockings and Stoltz's school. There ends part 1. So if all goes well, this book has, I think, I want to say 4 parts. Then I will do 1 video per part. And today I thought we could talk a little bit about The Help. Because I was talking to a friend on another topic recently, not literary, and since The Help and The Housemaid and Parasite, there seems to have been quite a vogue in current literary fiction, and even penetrating into the popular consciousness and big movies with domestic help. Now, oddly, I am a stout Marxist, but I don't, get too upset with all of the domestic servants in the great estates of our 19th century literature. But I do think it's very interesting to think about them. And it's interesting that they have been recuperated in the current context into becoming the focal point, the POV character, the narrator, the hero or heroine of their own stories. However, the way in which that is treated is also, I think, very interesting and not wholly emancipating or a certain subjectivity is assigned them. However, that's a whole other video. I think it's worth discussion. So I thought I would just end by saying this. Those who think that the days of landlords of this type are over, I'll just mention that one of the things that Oblomov fails to do, or intends to do but never does, is reform his estate, right? All of these enlightened despot type landowners that go off to the cities and become intellectuals, they all want to reform their estates. They have all these great big plans to educating the peasants and, these are Slavs, right? They're literally still indentured servants, serfs in many cases, and, cannot travel without permission. And, I think they have to have permission to marry and have families and all this kind of stuff. Yes, that was all terrible. But there are problems in the current context of domestic help as well, especially in that much of the domestic help in the United States, for example, is from Latin America. I believe in the Middle East, they have a lot of Pakistanis and Filipina domestic servants, so there often is a cultural difference. let me talk to you about USAID. If it still exists, I don't know if that was on Trump's chopping block. I'm sure he doesn't like to help out poor countries. But anyway, let's leave the politics aside and just say that USAID, is supposed to help poor countries. They come with lots of conditions. They do these big projects. They build these dams. They flood whole valleys of villages and displace thousands of people. Yes, basically what they do is the same as these landowners in 19th century Russia, or the British big grand houses as well. They have plans for these poor people that don't include asking these poor people what they want or what they need or how they would like to implement those plans. They come in with their grand ideas, never think to ask, and naturally, often those big ideas not only fail, in certain cases they are disastrous. I saw an NGO come into my context in Peace Corps, where I was in an African village, and just by the fact of drawing up maps where no maps had been, one map, not that it was assigned to a certain village, but appeared on a certain village's one well appeared on a certain village's map. And because that well has always been part of another village, everyone got very upset, and there became this big dispute over who owned this well, where there had been absolutely none before these outsiders came in and made these crazy maps. So things like that, can happen even with the best of intentions. And I don't always impute the best of intentions to USAID and a lot of development agencies, but that's another topic. Anyway, so just to start a conversation that I think will probably continue in the future videos about domestic help and the role of the unlanded workers. Okay, so there you have it. A bit of scripted discussion of the. Oh, I forgot to do my spoiler warning, but I'll put it in the bottom. About the actual text, and then a bit of extemporaneous discussion of a theme. Let me know which you liked better, or maybe you loved both, I hope, or hated both. Who knows? Let me know. Okay, and we'll keep going with these. We'll do a few more. So keep following along, and if you want to join in, you can jump right in. Oblomov is a quick read. It's a fun read. It's very funny, and we're just starting part 2. Thank you.